the marble masterpiece that is the Chaturmukh Temple at Ranakpur.
It has some of the most intricate and gorgeous sculpture you can see anywhere. It's totally intact. There's absolutely not a hint of damage.
Awe-inspiring art and architecture with over 1,000 pillars and sculptures unlike any other in the world. Scrub jungle of the Aravalli hills in southwestern Rajasthan. Forested valleys fall away from peaks almost 4,000 feet high. Over 500 years ago, this region was part of the Rajput kingdom of Mewar, controlled from the great fort of Kumbhalgarh. Not far is one of India's great works of art.
Hills, thick forest, and then in the middle of that, this great Jain temple. The romance of it is the sheer beauty, this jewel of a piece in the middle of what was once a thick forest.
The Chaturmukh, or the four-faced temple at Ranakpur, is massive. At over 48,000 square feet, spread over 3 floors, you could fit almost 17 tennis courts into it. Construction began in 1439 and took nearly 50 years to complete. Inside, every surface is profusely embellished.
People that turn up there for the first time are astonished when they see Ranakpur because it has some of the most intricate and gorgeous sculpture you can see anywhere. It's totally intact. There's absolutely not a hint of damage.
Ranakpur is like a little jewel in a forest, and when you come upon it and you come inside this space, it's a forest of pillars.
1,444 pillars, 426 columns, 29 halls, 80 domes, and astonishingly, there are very few walls.
Columns have always been a strong thing, whether in Rajasthan or across India. Columns, pillars, khambe, stump. And in the case of Ranakpur, it's just columns upon columns upon columns upon columns.
Amazingly, in that labyrinth, you find these little courtyards. If you happen to go there on a day which is partially sunny, and as a photographer, you look for those opportunities, then you get this interplay of brilliant light and, much softer areas where it spills into.
The temple of the Shwetambar, or white-clad Jain sect, is built of white marble, sourced from the surrounding region. Ranakpur is located in a small village by the same name in the Pali district of Rajasthan. In 1439, when it was built, this region formed the westernmost edge of the kingdom of the Mewar Rajputs.
Rana Kumbha, who was the great creator of the magnificent fortress of Kumbhalgarh, saw his empire expand from Gujarat down to Madhya Pradesh. At no other point in history was a Rajasthani ruler controlling such an enormous area. The same period that you see Kumbhalgarh built on this astonishing scale also produces the Jain temple at Ranakpur and reflects the same period of peak Rajasthani wealth, prosperity and influence.
But it wasn't Rana Kumbha who thought of building the Ranakpur temple. History records that it wasn't the king, but his courtier.
It was one of the ministers of Rana Kumbha, Dharnashah, who wanted permission from him to build a Jain temple in Ranakpur in the 15th century. And the Rana told him that he should build a temple but also a village around it, and that's how Ranakpur temple came, and it was named, the area was named as Rana Kapur, which is after Rana Kumbha.
The popular legend tells of how the temple came to be. It is believed that the idea came to Dharnashah one night as he was asleep. In his dream, he saw images of a great structure. Dharnashah, who had taken a vow of celibacy at age 32, was a devout Jain. He believed that his dream was a calling and was determined to recreate the vision he had seen that night. The temple was dedicated to Lord Adinath, the first of the 24 Tirthankaras, the supreme preachers of the Jain faith. Inside, Minister Dharnashah is immortalized in stone. But his isn't the only credit. The architect, depicted here scale in hand, also finds a place in history. His name was Deepak, or Dwepa, as he is sometimes called. He was believed to have been from a humble background, an unrecognized architect until then. But that was about to change. We don't know what inspired him. But in his mind was the design of one of the finest buildings in the world, the multi-pillared architectural wonder of Ranakpur.
The court of Maharana Kumbha had so many well-known architects. Out of them, one gets picked. And I think that's really what sees the rise of Deepak, who's apparently this poor, humble man.
Deepak's big break came when he presented his design to Dharnashah. As in much of Indian historical architecture, no physical drawings or blueprints remain to conclusively show how these buildings were planned. We can only assume that Deepak found some innovative way to present his multi-pillared plan to Dharnashah. His vision matched Dharnashah's dream. The rest is history.
The builder of Ranakpur is a Jain. The ruler is mainly a Shaivite, that is Maharana Kumbha. But he is also patronizing Jain temples. It also is telling us how much of a composite culture was the life of the local people around there.
The composite culture that brought the temple to life still thrives. The direct descendants of the Hindu priests at the Jain temple continue to serve.
हमारी यहाँ पे वंश परंपरा चलती है। जब से मंदिर बनाए 600 साल हुए हैं। सबसे पहले पृथ्वीराज जी यहाँ पर आए थे, फिर उन्हीं के जो वंशज हैं वही इस मंदिर की पूजा करते हैं। मेरे पिताजी हैं 17वीं पीढ़ी, मैं 18वीं पीढ़ी में हूँ। ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी से ज़्यादा हमको प्लेजर लगता है कि हमको ये सेवा करने का मौका मिल रहा है। ये कहाँ मिलता है बाहर? देखो, मंदिर के अंदर हर चीज़ सिम्बॉलिक है। यहाँ पे 1444 पिलर्स हैं। जैन धर्म के अंदर जो हरिभद्र सुरेश्वर महाराज थे, उन्होंने 1444 श्लोक लिखे थे, जिसके ऊपर जैन धर्म खड़ा है सिम्बॉलिकली। पूरा मंदिर इन पिलर्स के ऊपर ही है, इसके ऊपर कोई सपोर्टिंग वॉल नहीं है। सभी श्लोक अलग अलग थे, तो उसी तरह से सारे पिलर्स भी अलग अलग है, सबकी डिजाइन अलग अलग है। कोई भी दो पिलर्स आपको एक जैसे नहीं दिखेंगे।
Each pillar had subsections, and each section was independently worked upon by different artisans.
You would give that creative right to the craftsperson. So it's not that one craftsperson would be carving different columns. You know, each would get their set of columns or their columns, and each one was free to work within a certain scale on the capital, on the middle shaft, and do whatever carving. And this is what resulted in masterpieces like what you see in Ranakpur.
Every surface is intricately carved. Some defy the imagination. Like the Kalpa Vriksh, the mythical tree that provides all that is desired. The incredible filigree is carved from a single slab of marble. So is the idol of Lord Sahasraphan Parasnath, protected by a 1,000-headed divine serpent, endlessly intertwined.
नाग के शरीर के पीछे सोचो कौन से टूल्स थे 600 साल पहले। नाग के शरीर के पीछे से होके उन्होंने कार्विंग करी, उसमें कोई जॉइंट भी नहीं है, वो एक सिंगल पत्थर में बनाया हुआ है। तो मूवीज के अंदर आप रीटेक ले सकते हो, आप मुझे बोल सकते हो दूसरी बार फिर से बोलो, बैक स्पेस डिलीट अंडू कुछ भी नहीं होता है। एक बार में बिना गलती किए बनाना है, पत्थर का काम है, देखो उसमें रीटेक नहीं होता है।
6 centuries on, the temple at Ranakpur remains one of India's great artistic accomplishments. Many even consider it perfect. is it? Dharnashah, the man who built it, and Deepak, its architect, made sure that it wasn't entirely perfect. Among the thousands of perfect columns and pillars is one aberration, a pillar that is deliberately crooked.
So this is to remind us that we are humans, we are not divine, and this column being out of line reminds us that this is earth, this is not perfection.
The builders knew that they were creating an exceptional work of art, but that could lead to hubris, and it was not wise to tempt fate.
You realize that there is something that has been put into place in order for you to understand that concept of perfection.
In a modern age, aided by advancements in technology, perfection remains a distant ideal. 600 years ago, at the Chaturmukh Temple at Ranakpur, medieval mortals may have deliberately stopped short of achieving it.